I'm Chris Berman. Well, let's get straight to the action. In our first game this week, we had the Eagles come away with a decisive 10-point win. We had a big injury in this one, and Trey has the lowdown for us. Trey?
All right, Boomer, thanks. Fortunately, just a single injury to report this week, but unfortunately, it's a season-ending injury. Adrian Wilson is done for the year as he's been placed on injured reserve, and as the quarterback of the defense, his loss will certainly be felt. So that'll do it for now. Boomer, back to you.
Hines Ward had a stellar game, but all said and done, his performance wasn't enough to lift his team to a victory. In a long-standing NFC rivalry, we had the Packers win their 10th game of the season. Colts, Titans. Win their Derek Mason is so dangerous with his speed. The ball at the 27-yard line, and there's a little stutter step, and he's wide open. Touchdown! The Titans win this one by the final score of 34-30. And before we leave you on this special wild card edition of NFL Primetime, let's hand out a few game balls to our primetime players. That'll do it, everybody. I'm Chris Berman. Thanks for joining us in the Bristol studios. We'll see you for the division championships here on ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. I'm Chris Berman. Let's get straight to the action. In our first game this week, we had the Packers narrowly coming out on top by 5. In a long-standing AFC rivalry, we had the Bills win their 14th game of the year. We had a big injury in this one, and Trey has the lowdown for us. Trey?
All right, Chris, thanks. Fortunately, just a single injury to report this week, but unfortunately, it's a season-ending injury. This guy is a warrior out there, but even he won't be able to continue, and his absence will certainly be felt in the ground game. So that'll do it for now. Chris, let's send it back to you.
Bobby Ingram had over 50 yards receiving and helped his Seahawks beat the Eagles. Titans, Chiefs. His Priest Holmes is at the 25-yard line, and boy, his line's been doing a good job for him today. And here they go again. Bounces outside, makes the move himself at the 25. Touchdown! The Chiefs go on to win this by the final score of 31-17. So as the field narrows to 4, let's hand out a few special playoff-sized game balls to this weekend's primetime players. That'll do it, everyone. I'm Chris Berman. Thanks so much for joining us in the Bristol studios. We'll see you for the conference championships here on ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. I'm Chris Berman. Well, let's get straight to the action. In our first game this week, we had the Chiefs come away with a 7-point win. And in our final game, we had the Seahawks come away victorious. So before we embark on some serious Super Bowl hype, let's look back and dole out a few game balls for our primetime players from today's conference championships. 32 teams kicked things off back in September, each having this game as their ultimate goal. Only 2 teams remain. One team will stand alone as champions of the National Football League. I'm Chris Berman, and that just about wraps it up. Thanks so much for joining us here in the Bristol studios. We'll see you for the Super Bowl here on ESPN, the worldwide leader in sport.
This is SportsCenter.
Welcome, everyone, to a special NFL offseason report here on ESPN. Trey Wingo here to get you all squared away with what's been going on since we left you after the Pro Bowl a few months back. Coming up, we'll set you straight on all the offseason player movement and see who went where. Then later, we'll call on ESPN's NFL draft expert Mel Kiper Jr. to get the lowdown on the upcoming NFL Combine and, of course, to get his opinions on the upcoming draft in April. But before we get to all of that, let's begin by taking a look at the guys that have decided to announce their retirement from the game. Rod Woodson has finally decided to hang him up after playing hard in this league for a lot of years. He admitted at his going away that Father Time has finally caught up to him and the game has passed him by. And basically, I think when you're talking about players that really knew their role in a ball club, he's included in that conversation. He was a good one. Tony Richardson is another that announced his retirement a few weeks ago. You could probably have seen that one coming, yet a pretty solid career all in all. Aeneas Williams announced his retirement a few weeks back. Never really a superstar in his years in the league, but certainly a guy that teammates love to have around. All told, he winds up with 15 seasons under his belt, and at his press conference, he broke down talking about how difficult it'll be not to be in the locker room on Sunday. I wouldn't be surprised to see a coaching job in his future. Chad Brown has also, as you see, decided to call it a career. Now, he too was a guy that played with a lot of emotion out there, but he decides he's had enough. Meanwhile, a number of teams went into the free agency period knowing they'd have to spend some big money just to hang on to their existing free agents. And a few of those players did in fact hit the jackpot. Chris McAllister won't have to change his address as he's re-upped with his existing club. Check the numbers here. 5 years, $28.2 million. On top of that, an $8.4 million signing bonus. So he'll remain under contract for the next 5 seasons. And that's a big boost for these guys, let me tell you. Chad Pennington will also be staying at his old address for a while as he's locked up for the next 6 seasons. Walter Jones decides to stay right where he is as he is locked up 5 years, $34.5 million. Added on to that, a $3.4 million signing bonus. Sean Alexander will also be staying at his old address for a while as he's locked up for the next 6 seasons. And now, Mr. Mel Kiper.
Well, Trey, we're going to break down a few players that I think are really going to open some eyes when the Combine kicks off. Mo is obviously no stranger to most people, as he'll be up there near the top come draft day. 6'3", 345, out of Michigan. And this is a guy that could really address some concerns with a good performance at the Combine. But I really feel he should be in the mix regardless because of his great performance his final year in college. Bradley is also a guy to keep an eye on. His numbers from the Combine will tell a lot, but he looks to be the kind of guy that's going to draw a lot of interest come draft day. And then after the top picks are gone, people are always asking about the guys I think are the sleepers in the draft. And I really believe that there are going to be some quality prospects out there that for one reason or another are going to fall to the later rounds. Burton is pretty versatile at the cornerback position. I think if teams are looking to add a player in the secondary, he could maybe even step right in and play a lot early on in nickel and dime packages. Jenkins could also improve his standings with a strong showing, and in my opinion, he will have a strong showing. Solid fundamentals, hard worker, and a good attitude. Could be a great late-round pickup. So there's just a handful of guys that bear watching over the coming weeks. I'll be back with more as draft day approaches. Till then, I'm Mel Kiper Jr. Welcome, everyone, to a special draft preview show here on ESPN. I'm Mel Kiper Jr. With the draft coming up just around the corner, it's time to take a look at some of the guys that are going to be movers and shakers come draft day. The Jets are holding on to the #1 overall pick. Obviously, they have a lot of options, but I think the consensus says they're going to go after this guy right here. 5'11", 191, out of Marshall. Great performance at the Combine, did nothing obviously to hurt his status, and I really think this is a kid that's going to be a future Pro Bowler at the running back position. So then, falling in line right behind him at the top spot, I think you look at a handful of guys that have the potential to be dominant players at the next level and will likely be selected somewhere in the top 10 picks in the draft. Stewart is a guy you look at that's really been a fast riser. Physically, I don't think there's any question that he's ready for the NFL, and you have to think he can make a big splash right away. And then when you look at some guys that are going to be interesting choices for the late first, early second round, I really see some prospects that are going to be significant upgrades for a lot of teams. Martin could sneak into the first round. He's one of those guys that might have projected to be a second-day selection a year ago, but he really showed flashes last year that he could be a great player in the NFL. And then this last group, for one reason or another, find themselves as second-day prospects. But there's an old axiom that says you can't make a mistake in the later rounds. That said, I think these are a few guys that can still provide value in the later rounds. Swanson is someone I look at that has a lot of potential. 6'2", 302 out of USC. And when you look back on this draft a few years from now, you know they're going to be 4th or 5th rounders that turned into productive players. And I don't see why this young man couldn't be a starter at the next level. So there you have it. As always, this is a fun time of the year, kind of like hot stove football. But things should get even more interesting between now and draft day. Till then, I'm Mel Kiper Jr. We'll see you. Welcome, everyone, to a special draft wrap-up show here on ESPN. I'm Mel Kiper Jr. With the draft complete, it's time to take a look at all the shoe-ins and the surprises. Let's get it started. Burgess was taken, no surprise, with the first overall selection in the draft. The Jets decided early on that this was their man, and they were obviously elated to bring him into the fold. He's going to be a special player, no doubt about it. Brewer was gobbled up with the number 4 pick overall, and I think he's going to be a good fit for this club. You could have made the case that he could have gone even higher, but as it is, he's off to the Bears. 6'4", 191 out of San Diego State. He had a super season last year that really helped his draft standing, and I think he'll be an impact player at this level. Ruiz was very productive in college and projects to be a very solid player at this level as he goes with the 12th pick overall. He's off to the Dolphins. And I'll tell you what, defending the pass was a definite priority for these guys, so he should be able to step right in and be a contributor from the outset. The Cardinals checked in with a pick in the middle of round 1, but they had their sights set and were elated when he fell to them at 19. West is a guy that's got a lot of upside, and I really believe he'll be a fixture with this club for years to come. Stevens was someone I thought might have gone a few picks earlier than he did, as he winds up going in the number 27 slot and heads off to the Saints. And I think they were happy to see him still on the board in the late first round because he was a guy I know they had targeted, and they had him rated pretty highly. So let's do a quick recap as we focus on one team in particular that I thought had an interesting draft weekend. The Giants had a lot of question marks on defense, so they went after some guys that could help on the defensive side of the ball. And when you look at the guys that they picked up, I think they did all right for themselves. So that'll do it for this year. Another draft is in the books, and now the analyzing and second guessing will begin in earnest as we get ready for the start of training camp in July. Till then, I'm Mel Kiper Jr. Thanks for joining us.